right. So today it's just the three of us. Kevin taking a little hiatus to be a dad, which
Spend time with
obviously,
his family
right? Like,
for sure.
does he know what time of year it is? No, honestly, kidding. Definitely go do the dad things because they.
I just got yelled at by my wife, so he has no excuses.
That's why you're sleeping on the couch tonight. Kevin's not.
Yeah,
Fair. At least
yeah.
it's nice here, so keep the
He's
windows
actually
open. It's
shooting
good.
this from outside. He's in
I
a
am. I'm in my
tent.
garage.
He's outside, so he's not even allowed in the house at this point. Um, but we're here to talk brackets. We've got the brackets, we've got all the seeds, we've got the at larges, we've got everything but the wrestling. But the only thing that we can do is, kind of complain about the head scratching seeds or the way that these brackets look and kind of how things panned out. So let's go weight by weight. Let's start at 125. And I want you guys to kind of take it away at 125 because as I said, this could have been random draw for me, honestly. I was just like the way that 125 has been all year, anyone can literally win this. Austin, from a EIWA lens, how are things looking for that conference?
Well, your IWA champ Stanich got the 2 seed, as you guys know, looking at the brackets. I agree with that seed. I figured Davis, Big Ten champ, probably gets the 1. All right, Stanich, yeah, we'll take the 2. Um, Second round matchup though, that round of 16, the winner of Caleb Smith and D'Agostino. That's going to be a tough match for Stanich on Thursday night. Um, okay, the last time he made weight back to back days, I think, was Midlands. And we all know Stanich's cut is, pretty big cut there. So might weight be a factor on Thursday night with wrestling those 2 guys, Smith and D'Agostino. That's a tough one for him. And then looking up at the runner-up from the IWA, Brett Unger, 17 seed, taking on Dean Peterson of Rutgers as a 16. I think that's a heck of a first-round matchup. Winner that'll get Davis. Yeah, I think the IWA, at least those top 2 guys, have pretty good. They're sitting pretty nice.
Yeah. Robbie, you weren't too happy overall with how ACC guys were kind of treated in the brackets. What were your thoughts, at least at 125?
In general, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the way the ACC shook out. 25 is such a crapshoot that it's hard to be really, really mad about it.
Yeah.
I thought that I think 11 was a little low, lower than I was expecting for Flynn. I was thinking probably 9-ish, just because he has some really good wins on the year. And 2 of his losses, I mean, all of his losses are quality losses, all 4 of them. But losing back-to-back matches to Camacho in the last 2 weeks didn't help, and that really kind of dropped him. I like where he's at in the bracket. I think he's got a good spot. He's got Braden Palmer first round. I like that matchup, and he's got probably Spratley second round, and I like the way he matches up there as well. Camacho got the 7 seed. He's got a nice little run too. Probably have Barnett in the second round. He's got Blake West from Northern Illinois first round. I was a little bummed by the wild card selection here. I really thought Spencer Moore was going to grab one, and he just didn't have the quality wins to get in. His record was great, placed third at the conference, but didn't have the high enough percentage of quality wins to jump in. So not overall super disappointed. I like the way both of them lined up in the bracket, so I think they both have a good shot of running.
Yeah. Yeah, when I started kind of going up and down the bracket, and like I said, 25 all year has just been, who the hell knows what's going to happen, right? But when you're looking at these first round matchups, and I see Pat McKee, Kyson Terrakina first round, I'm like, well, that's a pretty salty one. Like, winner of that gets Richie Figueroa, right? Like that's tough. That is absolutely tough right there, right? So that's a tough road for Pat McKee specifically. When you think of Pat McKee at NCAAs, you're always thinking one match win and then losing in the second round and wrestling all the way back, or losing in the first round and wrestling all the way back. this does him no favors, right? Like none whatsoever. So when you're looking at these matchups, and like I said, that's a great matchup right off the bat. Even Matt Ramos has a not really a gimme. I mean, Macron has been pretty good this year as well. Ramos has the 4 seed. So that's it's not the hardest, obviously, but like just looking at these first round matchups, that's the part of the bracket where I was like, man, that's going to be very, very hard, specifically for Pat McKee having Terrakina and then Figueroa and most likely Davis in the quarters. So no favors done for Pat McKee, who was a runner up in the Big Ten. So that was my first thought when it came to 25. Now 33 on the other hand, and this was a weight that I was talking about, and everybody, we were in on this one before we even had all the results at 133. And looking at it, everybody's like, how did Dayton get the 1? How did Vito get dinged all the way down to 6? What the hell's going on? We talked about this beforehand when I was like, even I was thinking, I'm surprised Dayton got the 1, because when you look at head-to-head matchups and you say, well, Fix and Crookham could have easily met during the year. Lehigh went to Oklahoma State. Fix didn't wrestle. Crookham did. Crookham's undefeated, 2 wins over Vito. Very good season. Crookham should be the 1. But then you look at it a little bit more and you're like, okay, well, who did Vito beat this year? And Vito's best win is Nasir Bailey, and then it's Kolioko, and then Santaniello, who didn't even qualify. So Vito didn't have the best wins to kind of prop up Crookham in that sense. So honestly, it sounds a lot like transitive property, but that's kind of the rabbit hole they're going down, because when you look at Dayton Fix's wins, he hasn't made a decision over the ACC champ Orini, whose only other loss on the season was kind of, which I guess they would probably consider an outlier loss, to Buzakis. And Buzakis probably didn't have he definitely didn't have the best conference tournament, but it's still, Orini was a conference champion, and he's still going to be able to prop up Dayton's wins this year. So Dayton gets the 1. I still was kind of scratching my head about it, but that was kind of the rabbit hole that I went down to see why Dayton was the top seed. Um, but I want to, before I even say any of my other EIWA or ACC thoughts, Austin, I want to go to you. Were you surprised after, the conversations that we had out, either on Twitter or in groups, that Vito was pushed all the way down to 6?
Yeah, I thought 6 was a little low. But kind of like you mentioned, he had some good wins on the year, not a ton, so yeah, I can kind of see, I can see that. Orini, ACC champ, right? Shawver, Big Ten champ. Ragusin has 2 losses, but a lot of wins, some good wins, so was I expecting 6? No, but, you know, I, I can see why, it makes sense to me now. Especially after your conversation with RPI quality wins, I think that kind of makes sense. But the thing that stuck out to me was look at the bracket from Vito on down. You got Nasir Bailey there. Cade Moore has a heck of a win over I think he pinned Latona this year, right? Nagao returning All American. Teskey from Iowa is a tough outing, and then you got Crookham at the bottom there. So I think that bottom quad, plus Vito, I think there's a lot of talent right there in that little block of the bracket.
Yeah.
Did Cade Moore wrestle at Big 12s?
I don't remember. I know he was
I know he
cut
got
up,
in
literally. Yeah.
literally. It was a rough cut for him.
Yeah.
No, I didn't pay a lot of attention to Big 12s just because I was down in Chapel Hill. I didn't see if he actually wrestled or not. I mean,
I don't
maybe he
remember
didn't with the
seeing
seed
him
being
in
as
any
low
of
as
the
he is.
results.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him at all, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I have to go back and look at that. But yeah, he may have gotten kind of an at large in that respect, with him being out of the lineup. Robbie, what are your thoughts on Orini getting the, what is it, the 3 seed, I think he
He's the
is.
3, yeah. He's dangerous. Makai has looked so good this year. And just talking to him on Sunday, his mind is in a great place right now. He's really locked in. I would not want to run into him in the bracket. That being said, being in the same quarter as Vito kind of sucks. But it is what it is. I like his run to the quarters. I don't think he's going to have any issues. I mean, Vandy might be a tough test for him, but I think he'll be fine there. So I wouldn't expect any issues with him until quarters against Vito, and that's just going to be wherever you meet Vito, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I
I
was expecting Latona probably. I was thinking 10, somewhere between 10 and 12. So 12 is not bad. He's got a couple bad losses on the year, so that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when I looked at these from a Big Ten lens and obviously an overall lens, I was also surprised that Vito was pushed to 6. Um, Mostly because of the hypothetical situation that I had put out there is if all the top seeds win, Vito drops to like 5 or 6, right? Then I was thinking 4. Nomad, chimed in, was like probably 5 or 6, but then all the top seeds didn't win. Shawver ends up beating Ragusin, and that changes things. And then when I saw, when you get that result, you think, okay, well, Ragusin can't be seated ahead of Vito anymore because he just lost to Shawver, who hasn't been in that tier all year.
Mhm.
And not only that, but Ragusin has 2 wins over Shawver, where that's the first time Shawver has beaten him. So
Because they really
when
get
I
into the recency there.
Yeah.
exactly right, so like I think they waited. Obviously, conference placement is a very big deal. Um, so I was shocked to see how that kind of shook out with Shawver getting the 4. And I felt like it was kind of based off of just the one tournament, right? Because like I said, he lost to Ragusin twice. He's 1-2 against Ragusin, who is the 5. I thought Vito would be pushed to 3. So the way that I had it in my mind was, okay, we'll have Fix, Crookham, Vito, Orini, Ragusin, Bailey, and then Shawver. That was my thought, was that Nasir Bailey would be the 6. Vito would get a bump from Ragusin's loss. Ragusin would still be top 5 because the guy he lost to was, if Ragusin beats Shawver, Shawver isn't going to get that big of a bump. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're going to say, oh, well, his conference placement was 2nd, and now we're still going to, they bumped him because of winning Big Tens. But I feel like they didn't take into account the rest of his season and his other losses, and the fact that the guy that he is now seated ahead of, he's lost to twice. So that was my thought on it. I didn't really think, that really made sense, but here we are. Shawver gets the 4, Ragusin gets the 5, Vito was bumped to 6, and Bailey's the 7. So I didn't really agree with that top 7, but I mean, I'm not on the committee. So I was kind of scratching my head when I looked at that.
But could we be on the committee?
I don't know if
Or
I would
should
want
we?
to.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
raise
even
my hand next year.
Yeah, I don't know if I
I'll
would
take the
want to.
abuse if I can help make things right.
Yeah,
I'm used to being abused. It's okay.
I would much rather sit and respond to the things that are happening than be on the committee, because I would not want to be in that room for sure. We see how things play out on Twitter. I would not want to be in that room with the people that would probably be on that
Yeah,
committee.
we hit on that a little earlier, but like the conspiracy theories about Damian Hahn and Matt Valeni, like trying to make things happen for their respective schools and respective wrestlers.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
because they're not high quality people. They're clearly just bending the rules to make sure
Oh
their
yeah,
guys get in.
yeah. Like, let's make sure all the guys from Penn and all the guys from SDSU get their boost and get
And
everything that they need. And
don't forget about Pitt, because they have an AD on there who has nothing to do with wrestling. So let's make sure
Yeah.
they get extra stuff too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really all it is I scratch your back, you scratch mine when it comes to these committees. They,
Yeah,
go
especially
behind closed
ADs
doors
who
and
have nothing to do with wrestling. They're all about
yeah.
Top on their priority list.
it.
But I think 33 is going to be amazing. I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, obviously the whole tournament is going to be, um, but that bottom half of the bracket, it's going to get pretty wild with Vito, Bailey, Crookham, Arini, like all those guys being down there. It's serious. And also, the with Ragusan getting kind of pushed down. I mean, his other loss is to Van D, who he outplaced. So you have to also bring that into account. So that's why another kind of reason why I was just like, I don't understand this seating for any of these guys here at 33. I was able to justify the fix one, even though I still would have switched him and Crookham because Fix didn't wrestle during the duel when he had the opportunity to. But I understood why. I just think they just kind of threw that out that hey, maybe they gave him kind of a mulligan kind of a thing. Um, which I hope doesn't become the standard. I mean, we obviously see guys sit out during the year, and we'll get to a lot of the other matchups that we haven't seen happen that probably should have happened during the year. Um, but you don't want to make that a thing where guys are sitting out matches. And obviously, when you look at these brackets, and we'll get to it at a couple of these other weights, it's certainly helped them when they have sat out to, not be in the mix. So hopefully we see some sort of response to that happening so that it's incentivized to not sit out, or at least have some sort of legitimate reason for why you are sitting out. Don't just say that you're hurt, your trainer signed something. Like, let's have an eval. Let's do something here. Even if you are hurt, it has to be taken into consideration. That's just kind of my thought. Moving on to 41, and I am going right to Robbie for this one because I have a feeling, and we haven't even discussed this one yet, but I have a feeling that we're going to have the same response. So, Robbie, your questions at 41.
I have 4 issues with ACC stuff. One,
Guarantee
I
we
love
agree
Ryan
well.
Jack at the 4. I think that's a good place for him. The fact that he could have Tom Crook in the second round is just annoys me. I don't like not having separation,
Mm-hmm.
but at least it's not a first round match. There's only one ACC versus ACC first round match. But
Lucky.
I wish there was a way to have separation, and I know they try to avoid it first round. The other, I guess I only have 3 real things. Lachlan at the 6 surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
He has really held on to a high ranking despite being in a pretty strong slump at the end of the year. He has, between the ACC duels and the ACC tournament, he has 1 win. I guess 2 because he placed in the 3rd place match. He has 2 ACC wins this year. So he lost 4 in the duels, and he lost in the semifinals, and then came back for 3rd. So he's lost 5 matches. 5 of his 6 losses are in the last month and a half, and they're all to somebody in the field, but other than Jack, none of them are ranked above him.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow, and I'm not super surprised by this one. I don't agree with it. But Cole Matthews is all the way at the 18, which seems really low for the wins that he has on the year. He's got top 5 wins.
Yeah.
4 or 5 top 5 wins.
5.
Um,
2
but that's
against
a result
Lachlan.
of him having a crappy first semester and
Yeah.
having a 4 losses in a row. So it's not wildly surprising that he's low. I didn't expect him to be that low.
Yeah, that was my thought. That was like the first thing that kind of stuck out to me was your losses in this bracket apparently didn't matter unless your name was Cole Matthews, because he had a horrible first half of the season, but then however, in that first half of the season, he beat the top seed. So even within the slump he had, he beat Jesse Mendez, who is the top seed. And then he also went on to, I believe, be undefeated in the ACC. I don't think he lost to anybody in the ACC. I mean,
No, no, he was undefeated in the ACC. His
yeah,
only loss was in the finals.
he beat Jack, he beat Crook, and he beat Lachlan McNeil twice on the year.
Mhm.
So it was just like, I get it, but I'm still a little confused by it, because it's like, how can we crush this guy for having 10 losses? And, granted, his losses are not good. They're really
No.
not good. But then they have to be weighted a little bit by the wins he has. And those wins are huge. Like I said, like the top seed,
You got a win over
Lachlan is a 7.
1-4-6, and 20
Yeah.
in the ACC.
So I was just kind of shaking my head at that one. That was like the one thing that really stood out for me when it came to that. So yeah, we certainly agree on the Cole Matthews seed of him being 18th. Austin, from your side of things, how do they look?
Yeah, just to wrap up Cole Matthews, I mean, if he gets by Mitch Moore in the first round, him and Bartlett in the second round, that's what probably gonna be an overtime match, if not, really, really close.
That's a safe bet. It's going to be
Yeah.
a 2-1 right out match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a Penn State guy, you're circling that one thinking, oh, that's gonna be
That's
you
a
know, that's gonna
dangerous
be tough.
match.
It
I
is.
Even
mean,
him getting
Yeah.
Mitch Moore in the first round sucks for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I think he'll be fine with that one. I think it'll be one of those matches where it's going to end up with Mitch looking for big moves, and I think Cole's defense is too good
Mhm.
to get caught in them.
But
Yeah.
if Mitch Moore does hit one, look out.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah. When he swings for the
dangerous.
fence, you better hope you're not throwing a fastball, because
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
definitely dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but EIWA wise, we got 11 versus 22 matchup. Coder Hunt and Composto. Coder Hunt majored him this past weekend, so I think he's going to get by him. And then he'll have a 6 seed McNeil, who kind of in a slump right now. So I kind of like where Josh Coder Hunt of Navy is. He has one loss this entire semester, and it's to McNeil by a takedown. So I think he's, hungry for that match in the round of 16, putting him in the quarters potentially against most likely Real Woods.
Yeah.
Malik Hines has Vasquez in the first round of ASU, and Vasquez was hurt all year, so who knows how he's feeling. Again, it could be another win for Hines as a lower seed there. I wish Kevin was on here, because we have Lemley and Hardy 9 and 8. They're probably going to meet in the second round. That's going to be another good match. Anytime those two wrestle, it's really entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. I circled the Hines Vasquez match in the first round too. I think that one's going to be pretty spicy, because as you said, you don't know which Vasquez you're going to see late in the season. He's looked really good. He has really come on,
And he
since
should be
coming back from
pretty fresh too. He's only got 11 matches.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he's looked very good in the latter half of the year. Hines can obviously score a lot of points as well. Both of them kind of thrive on quickness and strength, and a lot of, really cool moves, to call it frankly. So I think that one could be really, really good. Any other thoughts on 41 before we move to 49?
I think the first round match, Josh Edmond and White Henson, is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that one as well.
Yeah. Wasn't Edmund hurt for a little bit this year too?
Yeah. He was dinged up mid-season.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, Ryan Jack at the 4. He's got.
I like Jack's path. He's going to have, if it holds, he's got Etchemendy in the quarters, which, that's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Different style
Archimedes look very
matchup. That'll be
good.
fun.
Very
Yeah,
different styles.
2 different styles. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be really good. Cornella Hardy in the first round. That's a sneaky good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cornella got the Carter Starocki treatment. Oh, he did win one match at the IWAs and then defaulted out, did not
Yeah.
place. But he is really banged up. His knee is not doing too good from what I've heard. I'm not sure if that's true, but yeah, if Cornell was healthy, I don't think he'd be the 24 seed first of all. But
Yeah.
those Cornell guys and especially Vince, they're gritty, so they're going to come out and wrestle. And it's NCAAs, right? Anything can happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one I had circled as well.
Yeah.
Hardy hasn't been
49.
wrestling his best either. So I mean,
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
true. 49. I was kind of looking at Gomez and how he didn't get the 3 seed. I mean, I believe Jackson Arrington should certainly be seated high, but I was surprised that Austin Gomez was the 6. Mostly because both his losses are to the top seed. So it was just like you can't make him the 2, but I figured he would at least be top 3, right? Like Parco has to be the 2. He has a win over the top seed, even though he's got other losses that push him to the 2. So Parco definitely has to be the 2. But I was surprised that Gomez was the 6 seed. I didn't, certainly don't agree with it. That was like the thing for me. I feel like, and I said this, before we came on, I feel like when it came to 149, it was things like we saw in football where they were like, it's the Power Five, right? Like, obviously, these aren't Power Five schools and Power Five teams, but it was kind of the same thing of like, okay, we got our Power Five champs. Let's put them in the first 4. And they didn't really look outside at the other records or anything else that went into it. And Gomez gets pushed to the 6 because he's, the 1 through 4, it's all champs. And then Henson
well, not
at the
quite.
4.
Henson's at the 4, yeah. So,
Yeah, and Henson at the 4, who's the first runner up is who they
Yeah.
have there, right? So like I was thinking that, if anything, Henson is the 5 and anywhere from 3 to 5 is where I was thinking Gomez would kind of be slotted. I was pretty surprised that Arrington got the 3 seed, just because of where you look at his losses were and where you look at Gomez's losses. And like I said, Gomez's losses, they're both to the top seed. One of them was in a duel and the other one was literally in the finals. So, I think the weight of being a champ in your conference was weighed very heavily at 149.
I think it made it hard too, because with Henson losing to Arrington on the controversial call at the end, Henson has wins over Parco. His only loss going into ACCs was to Bridge Lovett in a close match at CKLB. So Arrington getting a win over him, which they split on the year, they split the duel and the tournament. So
it should
Arrington
be
getting a win
essentially a
over him
wash.
it was big. I was surprised to see the way it lined up. I don't know who Parco has wins over, but putting him above somebody who's got a win over him is interesting. Who
I
has a
think
win over him and a better record.
He's probably propped up by the win over Ridge Lovett. That's where his 2
sense.
seed really comes in at, is
That
him
makes
beating
sense.
Ridge Lovett and basically everybody else losing to Ridge Lovett. So it was just like Parco goes in here because Ridge has beaten everybody else that he's faced, including Gomez. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't really jive in my head. I was like, that's not working for me, just based off of results. Like you said, Henson and Arrington split this year. That should have been a wash. But I think they were like, when did Henson lose to Arrington? He lost to him in the finals of the conference tournament. So
But beat him a week before.
Yeah. So let's push him here. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, we were talking about Gomez. It just reminded me of the same exact situation we had with Vito. He lost 2 good losses and he just happened to be 6 because, like you said, they're filling in all the conference champs ahead of him. So again, if you understand what they did with Vito and why, Gomez kind of goes along that same route. But
it
I was
just kind of
looking.
raises the question for the Matrix, and I hate that it's called the Matrix. because it makes me think of Keanu Reeves. Yeah, perfect. And no, I don't want to associate wrestling with that. Just weird. But if we're gonna value conference titles that much that it's pushing, if it's having this much of an impact, is it overweighted? Should there be some different weights to the conference titles? Because placing in one of the smaller conferences versus one of the larger conferences, or one of the deeper conferences with more competition, should that be worth more? Should they be equal? It's kind of a weird. I mean, I think if nothing else, out of all the issues that we're seeing this year, maybe it allows for some adjustments, and it shows us where things need to change. And it clearly shows that we need to apply some common sense to things, because that wasn't done this year. So we can't just have math as the answer. It's not a black and white sport as much as we want it to be. Like it needs to be, there's some nuance to it. There's some understanding of situational understanding that needs to be attributed. So maybe we do need more coaches on there. Maybe we need ADs who are involved with wrestling. Maybe we should have a media component to it. People who are watching all the matches and see this, see the nuance and can weigh that in a broader scale than people who don't see the whole picture. Especially for people who aren't even involved in wrestling. They're just literally looking at numbers this computer spits out and saying, yeah, that's good. Stamp, move on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the weight class needs to have a weighted system, right? Like if you're in the Big Ten at 65 and in your weight class, in your bracket at your conference, you have every single guy in that weight class is, top 15, right? Like how many of those guys have high rankings? Then this is going to be a heavier weight if you win this bracket, as opposed to if you're in, say the Pac-12 and there's one or two other guys that are even ranked, right? Like
tie it to the allocations. Like
yeah,
we split out these numbers for allocations saying that these are the people who earn the spots. Then let's add a weight to that. If this weight has 12 allocations versus one at another conference, then it shouldn't be weighed the same to win. I don't know. There's just so many parts to it that could be tweaked to make the system better.
and let's call it what it is, right? Like we're big boys here. Not every single one of these weight classes and every single one of these conferences is as tough as the other. I understand everybody's going to be like, well, Big Ten's the best, right? Like Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. Yeah, I get it. But you also have to look at the competition that is in that conference and in that bracket. If you go into your conference and there are a ton of heaters in there and you come out and you win that should be weighted heavily based on who you beat. It shouldn't just be conference wide. Oh, we're going to look at the Big Ten differently. We're going to look at this conference differently and this conference differently. No, look at the weight classes, individualize the weight classes, see who they're beating, see what their path was. Like you may have to go down a rabbit hole, but let's get it right. And if you're not looking at strength of schedule or strength of, the opponent's schedule, or at least like having a couple different degrees of separation in here, then this is what you're going to get. You're going to get people just looking at seeds or looking at their results from the year, essentially with their record, seeing where they place in their conference tournament, and they're just kind of going to go from there. So yeah, I mean, I think we went on a little bit of a tangent, but Alston, any thoughts on process or the bracket that we're looking at 149?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with everything you just said, but kind of played devil's advocate for a minute here. Last year was a good example of 149. We had Yanni Diakomahalis in the EIWA. And you're talking about weighting Big Tens, whatever, because they have more ranked guys. The highest ranked guy behind Yanni, I think, was Doug Zaff. And no offense to Doug Zaff, he's my guy, but he was like, 16th, 18th in the country,
Yeah.
So a lot of it, sometimes it's not, Yanni's fault that everyone in the conference is kind of running away from him. Maybe that happened, maybe it didn't, but, you can't slot a guy like that in there, not at one, if he goes undefeated all year, right?
Yeah.
But, that's just another tangent there.
That's a
Devil's
good point.
advocate. But yeah, I really liked Kasich and Jane Abbas in this first round. Abbas was an All-American a few years ago. Didn't have the year he had this year that would point to being All-American, but he's still All-American. He's tough. I think that's a good spot for Kasich. And I think he can go on a run there at that 7. I like him there against Lamer next round, and I think Kasich, can he beat Parko? I think so. I think he's proven he can wrestle with some of the best, and a little Penn State magic at NCAAs. You might see Kasich in the finals. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've seen it a time or two, right? Where Penn State guy kind of catches fire and ends up at the top of the podium.
Yeah.
Next, we've got 57, and I was confused. I didn't really know what to make of a lot of things. No shot at Peyton Keller, but I was surprised he was a 7. Thought it was a little bit weird. You look at it, he has a win over Ed Scott at CKLV, but then like I don't think he wrestled really anyone else of note for like the rest of the season, right? Like it wasn't like he hit anyone that was tops in the entire country, right? So I was a little kind of scratching my head on that. I know he has another loss. Can't remember who his other loss was. Um, but yeah, like he has 2 losses on the season, but he has a big win over Ed Scott at CKLV, and I kind of feel like that kind of pushed him um, to be the 7 seed. Um, but yeah, so that was probably the most confusing part for me. Was Peyton Keller getting that 7, but more power to him. I mean, he has a 22-2 record, so he did something during the season, right? He wrestled more than most, as
Yeah.
as you could see. So, but that was just like kind of weird, that I thought was kind of weird. I don't think I would have moved him too much further down. I think maybe like 10, 12, something like that. But that was kind of the only weird outlier for me when I first looked at the brackets. Robbie, anything?
Um, ACC wise, Scott gets a 4 seed. I like that. I think that's a good spot for him. Andonian comes in with the wild card because there was only 2 slots at 57, and they met in the semifinals. Ed and Bryce did. So he gets a wild card, but comes in at the 12 seed, which fine. He's 17-5. 4 of his losses, 2 of them are to Meyer Shapiro and 2 are to Ed Scott. So not a lot of bad losses there. So I think that was a little lower than I was expecting, but coming in with a wild card, it's hard to, put him up much higher than that. So I guess 3 of his losses are to Ed because he lost to Cliff Keen too. So these only losses are to Ed Scott and Meyer Shapiro. But with the wild card, I don't think you can really blame him for putting him in a 12.
Yeah.
I think his second round match with Ryder Downey is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a lot of fun.
He better get out from bottom. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. But then, that sets him up for a potential quarter with Ed Scott again. So, I mean, overall, not bad, but not the best path. Would like to see them separated. And then Sonny Santiago, who was the ACC runner-up, comes in with a 27 seed, which is way lower than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But he has some bad losses, so it's not super surprising. He's got Cardenas the first round. He's been wrestling really well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him put together some wins. But opening with Cardenas is going to be a tough test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ed Scott, I think, is in a really good spot.
Agreed.
Getting the 4. I mean, he's got wins over the Big 10 runner-up, the Big 12 champ, and then he won ACCs, right? So, like, rightfully so, he should be in that spot. So I agree with that. But yeah, I was surprised to see Santiago that low, but he does have 8 losses, and they're not all good.
Yeah, no, there's some definite bad losses in there, but
Yeah.
he's another one of those guys who's kind of been on a different trajectory during the second half of the season. I almost got trajectory out without messing it up. So that was good.
The other one well, I guess a match that I was like, okay, this could be good is Joey Blaze and Franek in the first round because of
Yep.
who we've seen Joey Blaze to be this year. It really depends on which Joey Blaze shows up. Is it the guy that pinned Peyton Robb, or is it, Joey Blaze that we saw during parts of the season where it just wasn't good. So I think that one's going to be really good. That was one that I kind of had on there. And then we may get a Chittum Shapiro match finally. There were two chances for it to happen. The first was at CKLV. Chittum lost to Cardenas by one and would have moved on to wrestle Shapiro. Didn't happen there. And then obviously we know Shapiro didn't wrestle during the duel when those two were supposed to wrestle. So we may finally get it in the second round. And I think that one will be very, very good. Austin, what was your outlook on 57?
Yeah, I was going to mention Shapiro and Chittum round two could be really, really good. I got a few complaints about this weight. About 77 and 78, you got Big Ten versus Big Ten back to back. Winner of those matches wrestle Big Ten again. Like, this is what we talked about. Where's the human element in this to say, hey, one of these guys should move up or down, and this other guy should move up or down? Because, like, Lawan and Rob are probably, if they win, they're going to wrestle again for like the 90th time in their career, but also, separate them. It's just stupid to me.
Yeah, those two should not have been even remotely close to each other.
Yeah. The other thought I had was Vinny Zerban at 18. Undefeated all year, went to Big 12s, took two losses, right? I wonder if injury defaulting would have done him better. And made him a higher seed because they weren't real losses, right? They would have been injury defaults. But I'm curious to see how they ended up with that, having two losses there and dropping him from probably the 2 or 3 all the way to 18. I just thought that was interesting, and I think Franek is really dangerous at the 10 if you're looking playing like one of those where you pick the seeds. You need like a lower seed. I think Franek at 10 is good bang for your buck there. Returning All-American, and they'll have Peyton Keller, the 7 seed, in that round to go to a round of go in the quarters and Hall of Teamer, which is probably winnable for a guy like Franek, but Teamer's really good. It'll be a good match, but don't be surprised if Franek ends up in the semis as a 10 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. The first round match of Will Luan and Chase Saldate, I think is going to be really good. They didn't wrestle during the season. I was just looking
Which
at
Will
it.
Luan is it going to be?
Yeah, exactly. But it's most likely going to be the one that doesn't shoot and holds the best damn defense since the steel curtain. But they did not wrestle during the season. During the duel, looking at it right now, it looks like Michigan put out Matin, I think.
One of the 43 Mattins.
Yeah. Just here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they put out Matin. Yeah, Zach Matin and Saldate pinned him in a minute. So like,
I didn't even know there was a Zach.
There's a lot of Mattins. There's a lot of Mattins. They keep reproducing. There's a lot of them, and I love it. Just when you think that there's no more Mattins, there's another one coming around.
How's that Brock Mahler T Travis match look right above that too? I think that's a pretty good matchup. I don't know much about the Midwest guys, but I feel like those two are pretty solid guys there.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I think they wrestled during the season because I know Oklahoma State and Mizzou wrestled during the year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did they hit?
I think Mahler was hurt for a bit, wasn't he?
Mahler beat him 4-2.
Oh wow, okay.
So that could
lower
be
scoring than I would expect.
Yeah, that could certainly be another really good one. Yeah, but I mean, overall, I was just kind of confused by a couple of the things at 57. But yeah, so hopefully we finally get Chittum Shapiro. really want that one. It'd be really awesome to get that one. Finally. 65. I I don't know. It went how I figured it was going to go. I said Carr was going to get the 4 and he's going to have to beat O'Toole in the semis. Um, and everyone that says, you know, Hamity shouldn't be, what is it? Hamity shouldn't be seated above, or Ramirez shouldn't be seated above Hamity. Well, they didn't wrestle this year. They wrestled in the past and Hamity has beaten him both times. So like you can't go off that. You know, Hamity has beaten him twice. He's 2-0 against them, but none of those came this year. So doesn't really make much of a difference. So, you know, Ramirez, I think his losses are to, what is it? Ramirez beat Carr. His 2 losses are to Keegan O'Toole and Olenek.
And Olenek, yep.
Olenek didn't have, you know, the best back half of the year. So him being, you know, that high of a seed, I completely understand it. But I even said, like, I think this is how it's going to go, where it's O'Toole, Messenbrink, Ramirez, and then Carr. So I wasn't really too surprised by this one. But I will tell you, like, the interesting part for me is that, like, Messenbrink is certainly the clear 2, but the only guys that he has wrestled during the year that are in the top half, or not top half of the bracket, but in top half of like the rankings, is Hamity and Caliendo, the only 2 guys that he hit. He didn't hit Carr, he didn't hit Keegan O'Toole, didn't hit Ramirez. So that other half is rough. That is absolutely rough, specifically for David Carr.
Did he hit Taylor in the duel?
Can't remember.
Yeah, because didn't Taylor take him down right away, and then Messenbrink came stormed back and beat him?
He did hit Taylor, but I think he beat him pretty badly. Yeah. And yeah, Taylor did take him down right away, and then it was all Messenbrink after that.
Yeah, I think I remember that one.
But yeah, like, Carr is gonna have, you know, it's not gonna be too easy for Carr for sure. It's gonna be tough for him to kind of come out on that side of the bracket. Obviously, having Keegan O'Toole on that side. He'll also have Hamity on that side too. So he'll have Hamity in the quarters. He'd have Keegan O'Toole in the semis, and then he'd have Messenbrink in the finals. If Carr wins 165, give him the damn OW. Like, sorry, but that's where it should go. Austin, what were your thoughts on this one? You think it was done right for Ramirez to have the 3?
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It's kind of what we talked about, and you know, they have Carr and Ramirez, same exact records, but like you mentioned before, this match could have happened during the year and it didn't, right? You know,
it happened once.
It happened once. The rematch didn't happen, I should say. Yeah. You know, so if they would have split on the year, maybe things would have changed. I don't know, but yeah, Ramirez being 3, I think that's how we worked it out. 2 matches I have circled about 101 with Cerniglia and Mulvaney, 2 EIWA guys wrestling each other first round. Again, why? I don't know. And about right above that, Battle of the Armed Forces, we got Army versus Air Force. I thought that's kind of cool. Flipovitz and Petrocelli, 19 and 14. Yeah, that should be, those are always fun battles watching those guys wrestle. But yeah, everything else is pretty straightforward, kind of from what we've seen. I didn't see any crazy surprises. Yeah, I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
I honestly don't think, and Robbie, I want you to kind of chime in here after this, but I don't think that if Carr and Ramirez wrestled the second time and Carr won, I think the seeds would have still been exactly the same. Because Ramirez ended up winning his conference and Carr was runner up. So I feel like they still would have put him ahead. It would have been, in that instance, they probably would have said, yes, this is a wash. He's a conference champion. He should be seated 3rd. Robbie, your thoughts?
Hey, you know who else was a conference champion? Nick Hamilton. He's the 30 seed. It's fucking ridiculous.
I was waiting for it.
Like, what? we just went through 5 weights where we're pointing out how much of an impact it makes that somebody won the conference and that it bumps all these people. And he's behind 4 people he's beat on the year, and he's a conference champ. Like,
and he's wrestling another conference champ in the
yeah,
first
like
round.
there's it's mind boggling. Like, he's got a couple really bad losses, like to backups.
Maybe
That
that's why.
That's
I mean,
probably
yeah, it's
why.
not good, and he hasn't had the greatest season. But I mean, he's 12-7. 5 of his losses are legit. They're to Heller, Brady, and Fields, and then he's got 2. One of them was like they're both pins. Like, he got caught by the North Dakota State guy who's not above 500, and the backup for Oregon State, who was at like their second match of the year. Um, but to say that those 2 losses are going to bring him down to the 30 seed as a conference champ who has beaten 2 ranked wrestlers in that tournament, the 18 and Fields dropped all the way to 23, which is also way lower than he should be.
Lowest seeded conference champ is Nick Hamilton, has to be.
I don't think he has to be, because everybody
Yeah.
else is a damn wild card
That's
behind
crazy.
him.
Yeah.
Like, I think he might be seated. He's definitely seated above wild card entries in this weight, and he's a conference champ. It just makes no sense. So I'm going to send Cody Goodwin to go get somebody because Hambone's getting screwed over.
Yeah. All right, let's get to 74. It's the one where everybody's like, okay, what the hell? I think the system was relied on tremendously here, where it spit things out and they didn't intervene. Common sense was not interjected into this one. And that's not like a shot at anyone. I think it was just like, what can we do kind of a thing. Because if
A
they
lot of things you could do. Change the seating because it's atrocious.
yes, I think it was one of those, how do we change it without it being blatant, was one of those things, right? But it's just like, we just do the right thing. Just the right thing is right there. Just do the right thing. You know where those 2 losses came from. The system does not. This is where you correct machine error for Carter. Carter shouldn't be the 9. I get it. He, no placement in the conference tournament. RPI killed him as well because he didn't hit that. So they moved him down. But like, come on. Just like, come on. Like, even you know who he is. We can't rely specifically. And this isn't, and the funny thing is that in certain weight classes, you can tell that they didn't rely on the system. In this one, they did rely on the system. At least in my opinion, my thought is that that's the way it looks. Is that it's, the Matrix spit Carter out at 9, and it was like, yep, we're going with it. I just no, just no, all around no. So call it what it is. Carter's the 9 seed. It sucks for people in that top half that I'm gonna allow Robbie to get to, but like, man, I also didn't agree with K DeVos being the 2. Um Pretty inflated record on the year. I think his one loss is to Shane Griffith, but he didn't really hit anybody else that is in the top tier throughout the year. I don't even know if he hit any other top 10 guys, to be completely honest. So yeah, I K DeVos being the 2 is okay, sure. It's not right. I at least thought that they would say Carter is still the best guy in the weight. Will give him a little bit of punishment for these 2 losses where he injury defaulted and make him the 2 or the 3 or the 4, but not the 9. Just my thought. Robbie, your thoughts on Carter getting the 9 and how that spins things in the top half of the bracket.
So I didn't watch the bracket release show
I didn't either.
because I don't want to hear them yammering about things I already know. I want to see the brackets.
Yeah.
But I figured out that I could fast forward on my phone and just grab the brackets. So I saw this about a minute into this show, and I immediately said that we need to prepare for the backlash because 174 is a clusterfuck. And there's really no other way to describe like how poorly this was done. Like even accounting for his 2 losses, he has wins over what, 3 people who are ranked above him. So how are we not adjusting that? And his 2 losses are to non-competitive matches.
Yeah.
He's got like a 95% bonus rate. He has one match that wasn't a bonus win, and that was over Rocco Welsh, who's
Welsh.
seated above him.
Yeah.
So like now you're taking the 2 people who have been in the top of the coaches ranking, the top of every media ranking for the entire year. Starachi's been 1, Lewis has been 2. And we're going to put them in the same quarter. So they're not even meeting to, I could even get to the argument of saying, okay, we'll put him at the 4, and that can be a semifinal. That could be his punishment. But that still punishes Mackay more than it punishes the Carter.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot wrap my head around any logic being applied to that. You have 3 former NCAA champions. I know we can't count previous years, but to say that we're not aware of that is just ridiculous. We have 3 former NCAA champs in the top half of the bracket. Multiple All-Americans. There's 1 All-American in the bottom half of the bracket. It is the most unbalanced bracket that I remember ever seeing in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. That's what it has to be. It has to be the calculator said this, I said yes. This is why I don't trust math. Like, come on, let's be real here.
Yeah. How much do you use math?
I measured some stuff today. That's about all I got.
I'm a writer, dude. No, I get it. 3 previous champs all in the same half of the bracket. And it's not because they had bad seasons and they just ended up there. It was because you put them there. You allowed that to happen. And it should have never happened. I don't know. It is what it is. Austin, your thoughts on Phil Canigliaro getting the 5 seed?
Yeah, well, if you saw
face
Willie
right there,
if you saw Willie's tweet today about it, yeah, it was. I don't know how, especially getting 4th at EIWAs and then you end up with a 5th seed at NCAAs is rather strange.
Yeah.
Well, the top 4 are clearly EIWA guys, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and then I did go back and look at Canigliaro's wins. He has 2 over in Contrera, 2 over Wolak, 1 over Wolak, who was EIWA champ. And then scrolling down here, Austin Murphy, Campbell, pretty good win. And his only loss before 2 to Benny Baker was to Ed Ruth. And he has a win over Adam Kemp as well. So, yeah, he has some good wins, but are they enough for the 5th seed? I don't think so. But, looking at that kind of upper half of the bracket there, because we know Starachi is hurt, right? We know Griffith is hurt. I think Patrick Kennedy at 12 could make a heck of a run there, depending on Griffith's injury. I'm not sure how serious that is, but if Kennedy gets through his first match with Ishins, and then Canigliaro finds himself in the quarters with a possibly banged up Griffith, who wrestles
Justin
everyone
McCoy.
close, or McCoy. Yeah, it could be any of those guys, honestly. But I just feel like the 12 seed for Kennedy is actually a pretty good spot for him, just depending on how serious injuries Griffith is. And another weight class here where we have an all EIWA matchup, Wolak and Baker, EIWA. first and third. Again, bump Baker down, bump him up. He's 26. Doesn't matter if he's 27, 25. I don't think so. You just separate these guys. It's getting crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Canigliaro at the 5 after losing twice to Baker in the conference
An
tournament.
unranked guy, right? He was unranked going in.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. It makes you
And
wonder if Canigliaro would have maintained his first seed of one EIWAs, what they would have done with him.
yeah, like he may
Would
have been the
he
2.
would he have jumped all the way up to 2? Yeah, I with one loss, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Like the
Which
way
would
it
have been
the
insane
way
in
it
itself.
looks, the way it
Yeah.
looks, right? Like if he wins EIWAs, he's an EIWA champion. K DeVos was a conference champion as well, and he also has one loss. I think Canigliaro is the 2 seed. Or I
Which
mean,
still is crazy to me, but
insane. I mean, the only other
yeah.
thing that I could think of is that he's the 4 because they then bump Edmund Ruth to 2. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just kind of grasping at straws right here. But yeah, with the way that Canigliaro's seed looks, with him being at 5 after placing 4th in his own conference tournament, it don't make sense.
We could have put him at 30th if he won, though.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, let's do that. Let's take conference champs and just put them at 30th. Wrestle your way out. You're the best. You'll prove it from 30. Jeez. Let's move to 84. I honestly didn't really have much at these last couple of weights.
I mean, what sucks about 74 too is like the way it lines up, there's not a lot of like super intriguing first round matches either.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of a like the thing we're going to be most interested in is seeing, what does Carter look like and what does Shane look like and how injured are they? Because that's going to be the biggest thing to watch in the first round at 174.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And Carter gets Sparks again, who he should have wrestled in the first round at Big Tens.
He's wrestling Shane Sparks.
Yes. Yes.
On the Resolite.
On the Resolite.
Only Matt returns.
Matt returns only on the Resolite. Sparks versus Strachey. But yeah, he should have had Sparks in the first round of Big Tens, but he had to forfeit to him. So he gets a second chance to correct his first loss of the season, his first loss in like 3 years. Yeah, it's weird.
I did love Carter's quote though, where he said, "I'll wrestle all other 32 guys in 3 days. Put them on the line."
He's like, I'll clear them all out within 3 days.
This dude talks the talk, man. I love it, but he backs it up, which is great too.
He's full on ready for a UFC stage. He will,
I love it.
Talk it
That'd
through.
Be a good place for him.
Everything. I think he's probably going to end up there.
Hard to maintain your nails doing that though.
As long as you keep them cut, you're good. 84. Didn't really see much wrong. Like I didn't,
I have 2 complaints for you if you want me to bitch about something first.
No, go ahead. Cause I mean, seating wise, I was like, I think it all kind of matches up, but
yeah,
there was nothing glaring like we've seen at 33 or 74 or any of these other weights.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Again, I'm just going to complain 2 all EIWA matchups in this weight class again. I mean, yeah, they brought 7, so yeah, it might end up happening. But again, separate them. But having 2, this is ridiculous here.
Yeah, you shouldn't be hitting.
ACC's bringing 4, and 3 of them are in the same quarter. If that helps, all 4 are in the same half.
Do you guys see any seeds you'd want to change at 84 or even 97 for that matter? I didn't have any really glaring seeding things at 84, 97, at least anything from my liking.
I mean, yeah, 84. I mean, Foca, I think it's kind of deserving. I expected him to be lower than 10, especially after getting 4th at EIWAs. But that second match was injury default. He actually did get hurt with his shoulder. So again, how hurt is a guy like Foca? I don't know. For him to not finish a match, he looked like he was in pain. But again, it's probably better safe than sorry at this stage, right? If you're not winning the conference, you're fourth. Not much of a difference. But yeah, I think guy
It's a
like that.
30th versus a 7 seed, right? Isn't that how that works?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. And then yeah, I think him at 14, if he's on his game, could be dangerous from there. Um, but again, having an EIWA opponent just grinds my gears a little bit.
He'd have a hell of a run. He'd have to go through Plot, Truex.
Yeah,
It would not be easy for him whatsoever.
yeah. Especially he hasn't been the same Foca since he's been up at 84 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a tough readjustment for him for sure. Salazar kind of has a pretty easy path. I shouldn't say easy path,
Oh, don't
but
sleep on TJ Stewart.
I shouldn't say well, that's what I'm saying. I shouldn't say easy path because TJ Stewart
Fishback.
is
Yeah.
is right there.
Yes, it should be TJ
But
and Fishback in the second round.
yeah, but it's not as, it's not the meat grinder that the top half of the bracket would be.
I could agree with that. I actually think a TJ Stewart Salazar match would be very entertaining, and I really like to see that match.
Listen, I just want TJ Stewart to get his lungs intact. If he's on with his lungs, the rest of him is good. I don't want to see him. I mean, obviously, it's really cool to see him run through a double on just like pure adrenaline and just raw power. But like late in the match, it's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
you
You're
gotta
up.
have
You
gotta
gotta
have
have
7 minute
something
lungs.
because the stall warnings are gonna come hot and heavy at NCAAs. It's not gonna be the
Mhm.
same. It is not going to be the same, especially in the later, last 30 seconds, minute of the match.
Mhm.
We are just trying to hold on, and we saw
And
him hold on to
that's
that.
nearly
So
cost him several times this year.
yeah,
So I mean, he's getting better every time he's get out there or goes out. I mean, he said he feels better with the cut. He said it's more under control, and he's getting better every time with it. He looks really good at 84 now. Like he doesn't look winded after one period like he did when he first cut down to 84, which was not good. Um, so he's definitely getting his legs and getting his lungs. I'm hopeful that he has, is at full as best he can be at this point. I really don't like that we're seeing him and Fishback round 2, and then Reese Heller's also in that same quarter.
mm-hmm.
Reese Heller, Ryder Rogotsky is going to be a really interesting match first round.
Yeah. Rogoski's going to
But
probably throw the kitchen sink at him.
yeah, Heller will do that too, though.
Yeah.
So, same kind of thing that Austin's been saying. Just move him 1 seed, like up or down, it doesn't matter, but just a little separation would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
97. 97 is going to be fun once we get to like the later rounds. I think Aaron Brooks versus Buchanan could be, something really cool. In the quarter. Like I said, I didn't really have much here, but like Lou Dupre at the 6 was weird to me. Um, didn't, it's kind of surprised by that, but that was something that stuck out to me is him at the 6. Because what did he place at EAWAs?
He was third. He has 2
Third.
losses on the year, one to Beard and one to
Cardenas.
So the 4 and 5 seed. So I mean, yeah, it makes sense. He's 6. Who is 7? Glazer. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so that's a tough one. I mean, I can see why he's 6. I could see him also being lower. I probably wouldn't have argued that too much, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Who's Cardenas got wins over? He's got 6 losses.
He's
He
got
has 2 losses to Beard. I know
Beard,
that.
yeah. Lost to Beard twice.
He took a few weird ones too.
Must have Hidley.
Yeah,
Hidley
Hidley
at
beat him
least
pretty
once.
good.
At least once, I think.
Yeah, twice, I think, because he beat him he majored him at CKLV. and then beat
Yeah,
him in the duel.
Did they meet at Journeyman too?
I don't believe so.
Because that's where Beard lost to
Maybe that's where they.
highly.
Cardenas
I don't think
lost
they
to
did.
Dupre as well.
That's right, in the
During the
duel.
duel.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Lost to Trent 8-2.
He
Lost
had
to
a
Beard
major over him too, didn't he?
twice. Lost to Tanner Sloan. Lost to Hidley again, 10-2. 10-2 was at Cliff Keen.
That's what I thought.
And then the Cornell duel when NC State and Cornell wrestled. Trent beat him again.
Yeah, that was one of his few non-bonus wins. It was an 8-2 decision.
I mean, Cardenas does have good losses. I mean, Trent,
Yeah.
Tanner Sloan, Beard twice, Trent twice, and Dupre. So it's not like he has bad losses. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a Beard Cardenas. Or again, Cardenas is a freaking EIWA guy. First match again. Jesus Christ. But
Yeah.
yeah, Beard at 4 and Cardenas at 5. I think that'll be a good quarter, assuming they both make it there. Be a rubber match for them on the year. Beard won the first two. First one was almost by a major. I think it was a major. Second one was an overtime EIWA finals. So I'd be down for that rubber match. It's usually really close.
Yeah, and Beard's only losses to Trent, right?
That's correct. Yeah, back in November. So Beard hasn't lost since then, but hasn't wrestled anyone like Hidley, but who has?
Everybody in the ACC.
Good point. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think anything outside of having Brooks 1, Hidley 2,
I might have smashed some shit if he wasn't the 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of impossible to move him anywhere else, honestly.
Is it though? Is it?
It should be. It definitely should be. But no,
Elam really got hammered.
Who's that?
The 12 seed, Rocky Elam.
Yeah, now he's maxed out. Are the Stouts on the same side of the bracket? Yes, they are.
Oh yeah.
Mac is Max 21 and Lucas 16.
So there's a chance they can meet up.
What's your guys' thoughts on Sloan getting 3 over Beard? Because just personally, I'd like to see Beard and Cardenas on the opposite sides.
Yeah, I think Beard probably.
If Beard and
Sloan
were close, I'd like to see them swapped.
Yeah, I think that Beard should have been the 3 and not the 4. Because of Beard's loss, his one loss is to Trent. So, I thought.
Who's Sloan's lost to?
I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. It might be to Trent, honestly.
Trent's beat everybody.
He's good at wrestling, turns out.
Oh, no, it's to Jackson Smith.
So how the hell is he the 3?
Jackson Smith beat him at
got
Cliff
beat by the 11.
Yeah. See, this is who do I write a letter to? This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Matt Valeni.
I got his number.
And Damian Hahn.
I'll call him up.
And the AD from Pitt. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, Matt and Damian are the 2 wrestling guys on the what I've
So
seen.
Damian gave his guy 3. So we wouldn't have to interesting.
That's the conspiracy theories here.
I'm not gonna say it to his face, but
I mean, look, clearly more coaches need to be on.
No, I would love for more wrestling brains to come together to do this. But yeah, that is kind of a head scratcher of like, why is Beard the 4 and not the 3? And everyone's saying, well, it's not that big. It is that big of a deal. Literally puts you on the opposite side of the bracket.
Yeah.
So it is a big deal.
Yeah, because being Cardenas for the 3rd time this year is going to be tough. Not make excuses for Beard, but how often do you beat the same guy 3 times in a row, especially of that caliber?
TJ and Fishback.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beard should definitely.
So remember how at 84 there was 3 ACC guys in the same quarter? We got 4 in this one.
Nice.
Andy Smith's got Glazier, Max Shaw's got Stemmet, and then Trent is wrestling Christian Kenzie from UVA. First round. So it should work out that Trent and Zach Glazier hit in the quarters, which could be interesting. I mean, Glacier's been really good this year.
Trent could literally have nothing but ACC guys into the semis.
That'd be pretty amazing. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing
Max,
too. I mean, don't sleep on Andy Smith. He's shown that he can beat anybody if he's on.
yeah, like
And
it could be Max Shaw in the second round and Andy Smith in the quarters.
that'd be hilarious. Can we switch Mac to the bottom side so he can get into the semis somehow?
That would be pretty wild. All right, let's wrap things up and hit 285. Kirkfleet is the clear one. I mean, let's call it what it is. Me, I was just like, okay, yeah, Bastida should be the two, clearly the two after what he did to Hendrickson. And he also beat Colton Schultz too. So like,
Colton Schultz only has 10 matches on the year.
yeah, because he did the US Open and then he also went to Pan Am's.
Yeah, he was in Acapulco.
Yeah. So like he missed a good portion of the season this year. His one loss is to Bastida.
How are we going to give somebody with 10 matches the 4 seed?
Conference champ.
Conference champ.
30. He's at 30.
Yeah. Conference champ. And I'm guessing his record or at least his results from last year. I mean, let's call it what it is. Like, even though you're not supposed to look at it,
It matters here though.
That's what I'm saying. There had to be certain things that were applied, right? Like, okay, Kirkfleet's obviously the one, Bastida is obviously the two, Hendrickson is the three, and Colton Schultz is the four, because that's common sense. Like that's just how you do those things. But it only applied here, essentially.
So he's got wins over Pitzer, Doucette, Josiah Hill, and Boone McDermott. Like,
yeah, it's not
Pitzer's
like
his best win. And
yeah,
that was an injury.
It's not a crazy good crazy good body of work this year.
How can you justify that?
You can't. If you're looking solely at his body of work this year and his record, you can't.
Yeah.
He doesn't have RPI.
Yeah. His conference placement was at the top, so there's that. That was probably weighted very heavily
You
too.
need to beat Peter Ming to do that. Come on.
I get it. But the thing is
I'm not going to say this to any of their faces, just so that's clear.
Yeah. Just so they know, but we're recording it, right? But no, like that's the thing, right? Like he didn't have to really face top competition. The only top competition that he did face, he lost to in Bastida, and Bastida is seated above him. So, but like you look
that was
at
his first match of the year
against
he didn't wrestle
Bastida
till January.
Yeah,
he wrestled 4 matches in January, 4 matches in February, and 2 matches in March.
yeah. He's been way more focused on the Olympic side of things.
Which great. He's doing great. And I hope he wins a gold in Greco. It'd be great to see that. But he doesn't have the resume to be a 4 seed.
No, he doesn't.
He didn't have the numbers to be a 4 seed.
This was a common sense seeding.
We're not using that this year. We established that.
Only when we need to.
Number 30, and we're not using common sense.
Only when we need to does that come into play. Outside of that, the matches that I'm excited to see are Colton Schultz's first match against Nash Hutmacher. I look back and I'm like, they're both like Greco guys, both Fargo. I believe Hutmacher was a Greco guy, but like both Fargo guys. They were, what was it? Colton Schultz senior year of high school. Colton Schultz was the number 1 ranked heavyweight. Hutmacher was the number 2. Hutmacher was a junior that year. So that round 1 match, it's like probably a match that needed to happen years ago. And then the other round 2 match that I like, that I think is going to be sneaky good, is Gadiali and Davison in round 2. The winner of that gets Bastida in the quarters. So, but like that was one of those matches I was like, that one can be really, really good. It's a 7 versus 10, Gadiali being the 7. Really like him, really like what he does. I didn't look back to see if they've ever met before. So if Davison's blown his doors off, then, shut my mouth. But I think that's going to be a really
Tay's
good
been
match.
great this year though too. He's definitely jumped levels.
Yeah. And he
So
was impressive last year too.
yeah,
So yeah.
not at
And
this tournament, but for most of the year he was.
yeah, for most of the year. Yeah, he was really, really good. So that was a match that I kind of circled and was like, if these guys come out of their first round matchups, this will be a really good one to watch in that second round.
I like Feldman and Treffin too. That second
Mhm.
round.
I was just gonna say
That
that.
was really close first time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Didn't what was it? Feldman getting the takedown late.
I
Yeah,
believe
with like
so.
5 seconds left, he won
Yeah.
by 2, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Robbie, your thoughts on ACC guys?
Kind of that. I like Treffin's seed. He's wrestling well. His worst loss on the year is to Boone McDermott. He's got losses to Nathan Taylor, Kirk Fleet, Boone McDermott, Gotti Ali, Connor Doucette, and that's it. So I mean, he doesn't have any bad losses other than Boone McDermott. But he's been wrestling really well. He's still not the most high octane offensive wrestler, but he has really shown the ability to kind of pick and choose his spots. And when he commits to a shot, he generally gets the takedown, which is, a big skill to have in this tournament, is being able to pick your spots, because you got to conserve something or you're not going to make it through the next round too. So I think he's in a decent spot. I like his first round match. I think he'll be okay with Bradley Hill. I'm looking forward to a rematch with Feldman. If he makes it through that, he's got Kirkfleet. So that's not fun for anybody. But even that was a 7-2. It wasn't a major. It was only 7-2, which only 7-2 is good there. I'm very interested to see Pitzer and see where he's at. Another week and a half of rest and recovery on the shoulder. He looked good. He lost to Treffin in the semis and came back to get third. He's got Connor Doucette first round. It's a very winnable match for him. If he wins that, then he'll have Nathan Taylor in the second round, which will be a bigger challenge, but is also a winnable match if we're talking about, full bore Dayton Pitzer, who
Pitcher's already beaten him this year.
has he?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of Taylor's losses. The other 2 were to Kirkfleet.
Okay. So yeah, it's very winnable then. So I'm very interested to see if he's in anything closer to 100%. He looked better last week than I was honestly expecting him to, with as bad as the shoulder seemed against Schultz. So I think he'll be okay. I'm hoping to see him make a little run. Kaka's got Gadiali first round, which is a tough draw. I don't know how that's going to go for him, but I like Treffin's draw and I like Pitzer's draw. So they're on the same half, but they won't see each other unless they both make the semis. So
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of mentioned Nathan Taylor before at the 5 seed, kind of like where he's at. Tough second round matchup, though. He beat Doucette by a point this year. And he has a loss to Pitzer, like I said. So gets through that second match. It'll probably be Schultz. And last time Schultz wrestled a Lehigh guy, the Jordan Wood, I think it was a semifinal last year, which was a crazy match.
that was wild.
Yeah, when Wood picked him up in the air and then
Couldn't
Schultz
finish
choked
it.
him out. Yeah, choked. So, hopefully Taylor gets revenge on Schultz. I'm not sure if that'll happen, but we'll see. Taylor's a big boy, Schultz is a big boy, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Other IWA guys I like Crosby from Bucknell was runner up. I guess I like his matchup against McDermott. Crosby's wrestling well as of late. And we have another EIWA matchup, 17 and 16, first freaking round again. Grady Grice of Navy, Nebraska guy. That's Robbie's guy, and Corey Day of Binghamton, like him as well. But yeah, should be a good one there. But winner gets Kirk Fleet, so tough draw. But at least one EIWA guy will get a win there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just looking down this bracket too, I'm like, man, we've got some serious names in this bracket. We've got Slavakuski,
I was just going to say that.
Buknavich,
Yeah.
Zuba.
Hutmacher. Like, this is an all name team at heavyweight right now. But no, I honestly think
Heinzelman.
it's going to be fun to watch these heavyweights because, and I think we've said it earlier in the season too, of like, we're now spoiled when it comes to our heavyweights. It's a different breed of heavyweight that is hitting a knee, minus Colton Schultz, obviously, who's the Greco master of all of it. But these guys are taking shots or hitting low singles, and they're putting on tough rides. They're looking for turns. Like, it's very different than the heavyweights we had 10, 15 years ago. So it is extremely interesting, and it's awesome being in the stadium at NCAAs and seeing fans still in their seats watching the heavyweights, because they are just as good and just as entertaining, sometimes more entertaining than the small guys at 25 and 33. So I think throughout it's going to be a really good tournament. We may be griping about brackets and seeds and everything. Obviously that's more something for us. Not one wrestler has really ever said anything about their seed or been pissed off about it. So it's all for us, everyone that's either a professional spectator sitting on press row or the ones sitting in the seats, right? So I think we've gone through every bracket. We've talked about the seeds and things that have us kind of scratching our heads. Guys, you have any final thoughts? Robbie, your final thoughts before we put this one in the books and get ready for wrestling?
Justice for Hambone. No, I think overall, I think the ACC is shaping up to be very competitive. I haven't worked all the way through my brackets yet, but I think NC State and Virginia Tech are both in good position to make some runs. I think team trophies aren't out of the equation. I think that'll be a big challenge, and they're gonna have some people overachieve to make that happen. But that's kind of the way it works, unless you are Penn State, and then you just got to go to your seed because they're freaking good.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I think they're good. I think there's some individuals that have a really good chance of making a run. Very much behind Trent. I think that's going to be. I feel like it's his year. I think he can beat Brooks this year, and I'm very very much looking forward to that.
Yeah. Austin, any thoughts?
Um, I almost don't want to mention it because I don't want to jinx it, but the last 2 years, the EIWA had a 500 record in the blood round each year. Yeah, I think last year I think they were 7-7, and then like 6-8 the year before that. So blood round has not been friendly to the EIWA. I'm hoping this year changes. They'll have more All Americans. Just I want the conference to go out in a bang before the Ivy Leagues leave and form their own conference, which is a whole nother thing we could get into. But yeah, excited for it. Kind of jealous I'm not going to be there this year, but I'll be there next year when it's in Philly.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, appreciate the wisdom, the gripes, the head scratches, the pissed off moments, and the confusion that we all share. But now there's honestly nothing to it but to get to the wrestling. So appreciate you guys, and I guess I won't see you guys in Kansas City, but I will be there, and I'll send some pictures and videos. I'll be in the tunnels getting a lot of really cool stuff and being on the floor. But yeah, that's about it. See you.
Peace out.